Morning. I think it's still morning for me. Yes, it is still morning for me. It may be morning for some of you. I don't know. So, I was going to do a written blog about this, but I just feel like it'll be easier to talk about it. Although it might be long, so maybe people won't watch it because it'll be long. So we'll see. Yeah. So today is Thursday, which means that 2 days ago, I personally, no one else helped at all, won an election. That's a lie. I didn't even vote. Many other people won the election. But I did get many votes for the president, so I still think I won a little bit. It was amazing. So Get Out the Vote was Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Last night was the first night since Saturday that I've gotten more than 5 hours sleep, and most of those nights it was less than 5 hours, around 4, 3.5, 4. It was fun, tiring. It's good times. Saturday, there were some issues that happened throughout Get Out the Vote that made me very frustrated with national headquarters of the campaign, because our field officer and our regional field director were amazing, and like Lucy, who is our field officer, is 19. It's ridiculous. I didn't find this out until yesterday when we were sitting there drinking champagne in the gutted headquarters, only for her to be like, oh, I'm not drinking champagne, I'm drinking apple juice because, 19 illegal, blah 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 blah. Insane. Yeah, they're amazing, did everything they could to try and fix the problem, but we kept running out of paper call sheets, and headquarters would be like, no, you can't have more paper call sheets until you can prove that you've made all the calls on them. Your numbers don't add up yet. And it's like, well, yes, sure, okay. Not all the packets have come back yet, so we don't have the numbers, but we have 30 people standing around without anything to do because we have no packets to give them. Some leeway would be nice, but whatever. And then there was a screw up on Tuesday where we sent loads of canvases out to Wisconsin, and basically I was given the job Tuesday morning to persuade 30 people to get on a bus and go to Wisconsin, and if they did, they'd get tickets to McCormick Place. And I managed to do so. But I was told by the people that told me to do this, who are on my shit list right now, they don't know this, they'll never know this, they probably don't even know my name, that they'd be back by 6. So I told them you'll be back between 6 and 7 to give them leeway. And then actually they got to Wisconsin and were told, oh no, you can't leave Wisconsin until 6. So I was really pissed off on their behalf and got very stressed and frustrated about it because I felt responsible for them pretty much being held hostage in Wisconsin. But whatever. Other than that, it was amazing. Sunday was my day in charge, and other than the papers running out, it seemed to go pretty smoothly. It was amazing. It was good times. I loved being there, and I loved the walk and talk. So in the West Wing, I'll explain this. Toy and Rachel will understand this. But in the West Wing, they had this thing that they are famous for, in which they walk along the corridors of the White House doing a walk and talk. They just talk at each other. And after the first couple of seasons, when people picked up on their walk and talk thing and it got talked about a lot, they started making fun of it. They had this intern start, and he's like, we're talking about walking, what's going on? And then falls over and all of this. So I was walking down the corridors, and Kathy, our data coordinator person, was like, hey Megan, can I talk to you while we walk? And I was like, oh my god, are we doing a walk and talk right now? And she was like, yes we are doing a walk and talk. So we walked and talked. I did lots of those. And then Tuesday night, I fulfilled my one goal / dream, which was at some point during election day in the campaign headquarters, I got to colour in maps, the states as they got called. And then they let me take the map home and keep it for myself because I did all the colouring. And I still haven't got to colour in Florida, so Florida is still sitting there waiting for me to colour it in blue. I wish they could hurry up and confirm Florida, but we'll see. So yeah, that was awesome. And then it got to so we had all of these volunteers still there. We were going to close at 9. Originally we were going to close at 11 on election day, but we were like, no, it's ridiculous, we're closing at 9. So we had all these volunteers still there at about 7. We were like, hey, everyone, if you stay till 10 to 9, we will give you credentials to McCormick Place. That's the election night rally where Obama was going to accept his renomination. I'm so used to knocking on wood every time I say that I keep going to do it, but he won, so that's fine. 7 was like, okay, we'll stay. And then it got pointed out to me that there was this guy at about 8:45. There was this guy sitting there writing his thesis, and I could hear some of the volunteers, some of my team members complaining about him being there. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, he's writing his thesis and, you know, he's not leaving. And I think he just wants to wait around to try and get a ticket. But that's not fair. He's just been sitting there running a paper on us. And the security guard that we had in there was sort of starting to listen in. And I was like, well, I'll go and try and, you know, get him to move with turn on the English charm offensive. So I get there. And I was like, hey, you're writing a paper, aren't you? That's really cool. What are you studying? He's like, oh, anthropology. And I was like, oh, what's your paper on? And he was just like, oh, campaigns, stuff like that. I was like, awesome. I have a massive favor to ask you. It's about to get really hectic in here. In 5 minutes, we need to get everyone, like all of the 100 people still here, to sign in their packets, do their tally sheets, and then get tickets out to them so they can all get to McCormick Place in time. It's awesome that you've chosen to do your study on us, but can I ask you to leave now, pack up and leave, just so that you don't get in the way while we're, you know, sorting all of this out? And he was like, immediately, right off the cuff, started getting like obnoxious and douchey, and I was just like, ugh. And he was like, and I checked with Nelly, my regional field director, beforehand that I was alright to get rid of him. She was like, yeah, get rid of him. And he was like, you're gonna make me leave? Do you really think I'm gonna get in the way? Is this really necessary? This is a bit like obnoxious, blah blah blah. I can't even really say. He's just like immediately being a douche in a, I can't even describe it. It was just very patronizing, very arrogant, and immediately made me want to punch him in the face. But I was like, yeah, it's we really do need you to leave. It's really it's going to get crazy in here, and we want to make sure that all of our volunteers and all of our staff volunteers get there on time. I'm sure you can understand with their hard work, we don't want anything getting in the way. And he still was just getting attitude. And I was just like, I mean, I don't want to have to say this, do this. There is a security guard there. If you're not willing to leave, I will have him escort you out. And I feel like a dick saying that, but he was like, oh, really? Are you really going there? Are you really threatening to have me kicked out? This is ridiculous. And I just did my thing, which is when dealing with difficult people that are in a mood or in a strop or arguing, I just talk at them in like a polite, non-confrontational way, and they can't get angry with me when I'm doing that. It's worked on the phone when I had one person threaten to sue one of my volunteers and I had to like talk to them over the phone because they'd gotten a ton of election calls. It works with all difficult people. It's a tried and tested method. So I just kept being like, oh, that's cool. You know, I just, you know, as he packed up, still stropping, I was like, oh, so, you know, good luck with the paper though. I really hope it goes well. How long have you got left? And he was just really baffled by this whole thing. And I escorted him out to the elevators. And as he did Sean, who was one of the aforementioned staff that screwed up with the bus thing that I'm annoyed with. Sean was like, oh, did you get your ticket too? And I was like, actually, and he was like, actually, no, I'm getting booted out. And Sean looked confused. I was like, it's okay, Sean, I checked with Nelly. He's running a paper. We're just getting him out of the way so that we can get tickets out. And Sean luckily did not. Oh, he just went, oh, okay, and walked off. Probably because he's too busy to pay attention. And yeah, and then eventually I looked and he'd left. He'd gone down the lift and I was like, phew. And then Maura, who was the volunteer that had originally like told me about him, was like, thank you. He was just being so obnoxious. When I asked him to leave, he was like, oh, you're going to make me leave just because I didn't vote for your guy? And I was like, wait, he's not even an Obama supporter? And she was like, no, he voted for Robbie. And I was like, then of course he's not getting a ticket to go study at our election. And of course I'm not going to let him stay in here. It was ridiculous. I was so mad. He was just such a douchebag. You could tell he was just a dick. Anyway, so that was that. And then we had this mad panic. We got all of his tickets out. And then, like, the field staff kind of adopted me and Desma a lot. So it got to like 5 to 9 and everyone else had the tickets and people were leaving and the rest of our team already had like bike ride or a car lift to get there. So Nelly and Lucy and I think their names were George and Ellie were like, Megan, Desma, come with us, quick. So we ran out the secret back way and sprinted to the metro. Got there, got in, and we had special guest passes. So most of our lines were really short. So that was cool. And we got in, and then there were the staff risers, and we were snuck up onto the staff risers, and a hilarious thing happened. So, my English phone, my G2 phone, this is why the G2 is the best phone ever and will always beat the iPhone. We were on these risers. These risers were like the height of a house, like a 2-story, 1-story house. They were tall. We were up high. Dropped my English phone down through the risers, and I was like, oh, well, that's that gone, and I've dropped it to the side. It's going to smash. That's cool. Whatever. I don't care. It's worth it for these seats. It's worth it to be here. Didn't even care. Melissa, one of, like, actual staff, went down there, seeing this happen. I didn't know. She went down there underneath the risers and found my phone, came up and was like, Lucy, did someone drop this phone? And she was like, yeah, it's my phone. And she was like, oh, the battery was missing too. I'll go back down and found the battery. Found the battery in the back. Basically, all that had happened is the back and the battery had fallen out. The screen, not a crack on it. Not a crack on it. Works perfectly. This phone is indestructible. I never want to get rid of it. All of you people with iPhones that break when you touch them, you suck. That's my little rant about why iPhones suck. So, that happened and that was hilarious. Oh, there was another hilarious encounter on Sunday, my day of being in charge. Rahm Emanuel, former White House Chief of Staff. He's no Liam McGarry, but he'll do. And current mayor of Chicago came in and brought us lunch that day, or maybe it was a Saturday, one of the 2 days. I think it was the Saturday, actually, not the day that I was in charge. And we were standing in the corridor waiting for people to come and volunteer and train. He came down and shook all of our hands. People with tattoos will know of this. You know when people do the tattoo checkout where they look really obvious at your tattoos very quickly? He did that with my chest piece while shaking my hand. I was like, I wish there was someone to catch on camera what looks like Ramen Manuel staring at my boobs, but it's actually him checking out my tattoo, because it made me laugh a lot. So that happened. Then on election night, it was just amazing. About 20 minutes after we got there, it got called for Obama, and we were crying and screaming. We were up in the staff rides. We could see our team doing like conga lines through the crowd, because a couple of them have really distinctive hair, and we were like, oh my god, Shayna, Sam, conga lining. So we went back down into the crowd for a bit. Shayna and me were like, she dragged me to run along in front of the press barrier. What was really annoying is that some guy came over and like tried to interview us, and I was like, oh my god, you're from England. He was from English Press, and I was talking to him and did like a mini interview with him. Afterwards, I thought to ask what he was from. He was there from the fucking Sun. I was like, I did an interview with the Sun. I've been asking people like dad and mum to keep an eye out for it, and they haven't seen anything yet, and so you know what else. But it's still hilarious. And then I went back up, got out my map, my electoral map, because I hadn't finished colouring it in yet, and there are pictures of me colouring it in inside McCormick Place. Then we started to get a little worried that it was going to be a 2000 issue, because Florida and Virginia hadn't been called yet. And Ohio, we were only like 11,000 votes ahead in Ohio, so a couple of my staff, like Nellie and Lucy, were like getting worried, and I was like, well, we've won. And they were like, no, if he wins Virginia and Florida, he'll have enough electoral votes that he could contest Ohio. It will get dragged on for another couple of weeks. And Nellie was like, and I'm going to have to move to Ohio to sort that out. And I was just like, well, for your sake, I will hope that doesn't happen. And then we won Virginia, and we're taking credit for Virginia as well. We can take credit for Iowa and Wisconsin, because that day alone, we sent 170 people out to those two states in the morning. We spent pretty much all day calling those states every day. As a group, we made 750,000 phone calls over those 4 days. However, we're claiming Virginia as well, because we have this, it's called a hard swap. And an hour before the polls closed in Virginia, we swapped everything over from Wisconsin to Virginia and phoned them for an hour non-stop, just being like, have you voted yet? Get to the polls. As long as you're in line before the polls close, you get to vote. So that was hilarious. So when Virginia went blue, we were like, yes, we've definitely won, because even if he wins Florida, there's no way Florida and Ohio, we've got enough votes, which is awesome. In the end, we would have won without Florida and Ohio. That's crazy. Those are like two of the biggest state battleground states. We won without them. Well, we got them, but we could have won without them with what we did get. So that's awesome. And yeah, so it was crazy again. And then he came out and he spoke. And I didn't like that the first line he said was a little dig about overthrowing the English 300 years ago, because all of the staff that I was surrounded with started like sniggering and prodding me. And I was like, oh, you guys suck. But that was still cool. And then, yeah, got home at like, I got to bed at like 3:30 that night. Desmond and her husband dropped me off, which was lovely. Then I had to wake up again the next day to, to dog sit. So I was up at like 8 the next day. 7:30, I was up early. And I went down to headquarters to see if they needed any help picking stuff up, like breaking stuff down, and also I'd left some stuff there the day before. And Nellie and Lucy and a bunch of people were sitting there drinking champagne out of paper cups, and I was like, and they were like trying to get me to stay and drink, and I was like, I don't like champagne, but am I gonna not drink champagne the day after we win an election? So we were sitting there drinking champagne. Nellie gave me this thing that she'd claimed for herself, but didn't really know what she was gonna do with it, and she was like, you're the only person here that, you know, deserves it. And it is this massive, like, wall-length Obama banner that's blue, and it says 2012 on it, and it's time underneath, and the O is rainbow stripes, so it's like an LGBT banner. And I was just like, I don't know where I'm going to put this, but yes, okay, I want it. They still have the cardboard cutouts of Barack and Michelle hanging out, and I was like, I would try and take these. I just don't know how I'd get them back get back to England. So I'll leave the Barack cutout to someone else, but it was just amazing. Yeah. Monday, I'm having my sort of, tonight we're hanging out at state headquarters again, as many of us that can, just to drink and hang out. And then Monday night I'm inviting everyone to my leaving thing, which is going to be at Spin Karaoke, and I don't know, hopefully lots of people will turn out and it'll be hilarious. Jill and I are going to sing For Good together and probably cry. Tuesday I fly home, right back to Waterstones pretty much, but I also have a couple of jobs to apply for that I've seen, that especially with this campaign thing that I've just done, combined with that would be perfect for me and my experience levels, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it has been awesome. I can't wait to see my dog. I can't wait to see Loki, and I can't wait to see all the friends that I'm going to see when I get back. But at the same time, I know that after a week of being back in England, I will just be bummed out and sad because it's been amazing. And before I moved out here, I could never even have dreamed of it being this good. Like, I would have been happy with making the occasional phone call, the occasional canvassing trip, but being so much in like the heart of everything, during Get Out the Vote, and having like a vague leadership role, and it was just amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better experience. So yeah, that's been my last week. I'm exhausted, but very, very happy. Love you all. Hopefully see some of you soon. Bye. Mwah.